Hey
Hey.
everybody, we are here with our fallen angel of season 11. That's what I'm calling him. He wouldn't want to be referred to as a fallen angel because that's not his brand.
Because I'm a fucking demon.
But that being said, my God, what a fun journey for you, Blake. Really was so fun to watch. Um, so give us like off the cuff thoughts, just like what's going through your head. I know it's been a couple days since you were evicted, but how
Yeah.
are you feeling in this moment currently?
I've had some time to decompress. So I don't know. Like, I guess if I want to take it back through the whole journey of the game, which I feel like not every step was important. There were several very bad, boring evictions that nobody cared about. Looking at you, Will, love you. But like, just a lot of things that aren't really relevant to talk about. But for me, I feel like my thing coming into this game, which I said over and over again in my interview and like in my prod chat preseason, was I am so tired of games with so many pre-existing connections, even though as Mitchell knows firsthand, I do utilize pre-existing connections. I wanted
Oh,
to
I
come
oh
into
I do. Oh, I do.
I I wanted to come into a game where I thought there weren't going to be a lot of pre-existing connections and see if I was genuinely a good player. Because in the org community, I think we're all so jaded and we all think we're good players. Like people that just know a lot of people and come in with a reputation and a legacy, no pun intended, and people that they know will have a better time. And it's the same with sequester in any org community. That's just the way it goes. So
Yeah.
I thought, like, let me, because I have looked at previous BBH casts, and I guess maybe in hindsight, I didn't realize a lot of them had a lot of sequester people, but also I don't think that it was super sequester heavy.
I think
So
this is the first. I think you were correct in assuming that most of the time BBH does not have a lot of pre-existing connections.
yeah, and so that's what I was looking forward to because it's like I think I'm a good player. I think at my core, I think I have an understanding of Survivor, BB, whatever. And so I think I'm decent. I don't think that I'll win 10 out of 10 times, but I think that I'm good enough. And so I wanted to come into a game with not a lot of connections. And like the red bus sort of was like that. I recognized Lee and I recognized Dan, but obviously Lee did the thing that I usually do, which is the hey, I know your friend and we have mutual friends. And then Dan, I mean, it was just I got along with Dan, but so that was kind of shitty. But I don't know. I don't really know what is important to touch on. I guess. Hmm.
I mean, very early on, you did find yourself with a lot of power. You were aligned with people who were winning HOH. You won an HOH yourself. Like, you had a very heavy hand in shaping the very beginning of this game. Um, like, was that something that you wanted, or is that something that you kind of just fell into?
No, because in the early stages, it doesn't really matter what happens as long as it's not you. I think I haven't figured out the optimal Big Brother strategy yet, but I think that it's very optimal to not make a lot of waves early on because, like, if you make waves pre-jury or early in the jury, or like I don't know, like late pre-jury, you're going to be looked at as the next target, which happened to Lee consistently. Like Lee, he didn't care. He was just going to do it regardless. And that's how I usually play. But I wanted to try something different and not cause shit all the time. And Lee was causing shit constantly. So he was getting looked at as the target.
Oh,
But
he was a great shield for you.
he sure was, and that's why the fuck I did not want him to go. Everybody was like, "Oh, you guys are a final two." I'm like, "No, Lee could not get the target off of his back if he tried. Lee will always have a target. He will always be in front of me." Um, so no, I didn't necessarily want the power. I don't know if you remember, but I didn't really mean to win the HOH that I won. Like I just liked the challenge and I did it as well as I could and I ended up winning, which my time was dog shit. So everyone else's time must have been like a dingleberry hanging in a dog's ass. But I just so no, I didn't think that it was worth getting power early on.
Mm-hmm.
I just think my social game should have been better in those to make up for the fact that I didn't want the power because I think that's what came back to bite me later.
Mm-hmm. Do you think you were able to make relationships outside of your relationship with Lee? Because I actually personally am struggling to figure out where it kind of fell apart for you. because I really didn't think you were in any danger.
Yeah, so this game was weird for me because I am not super good at text-based communication games, and obviously there were calls, but a lot of people had never played an org before, so they didn't like know, not necessarily like the standard, but they didn't know that calls were really good for games like this. So a lot of my charm, if you want to call it that, comes through on calls rather than in text, because a big thing in my like communication is tone, and I can't communicate my tone via text. It just doesn't happen. So getting on calls with people usually is very good for my social game. I spent an unexplainable amount of time on calls in Legacy, like to the point where it was bad for my mental health. And in this game, it was all chat. So I think where it really fell apart for me is that I was building these connections, but I wasn't the kind of person who had the time to sit and look at my phone or look at my Skype and just type, because that shit is draining. Like, that's why I don't play Alias games anymore, because I don't have time to sit and type to people.
Right.
So I think where it really fell apart is I had the connections, but the connections weren't strong enough. And so people weren't thinking of me as a person they wanted to include in alliances. Like if we want to go back to Justin's our RBG alliance, like he picked Dan as the strongest person. Well, number one, he picked him as the strongest because of things he knew about him pregame, which that's a whole different story. But two, it's because Dan was good at messaging. Dan was communicative about when he was not going to be here, and I wasn't. So that's where it fell apart at the beginning. And then I campaigned too hard for Lee to stay against my better judgment. I should have just like bit my tongue and evicted him and not said in the main chat that I was evicting Justin, because that I think spiraled into Justin nominating me, which spiraled into me nominating him. And then it was
it did make you an easy person to target at that point.
Yeah, and I think in my brain I thought that the way that I was looking at it was like, Justin knows he's staying. He knows that there's no chance he's going. He's not going to be happy I evicted him, but maybe he will look at it as, well, he's sticking with the people that he's close to till the end. So I thought he would view it as, maybe if I can get in good with him, then I would be a person that he should keep around.
Yeah.
Obviously,
but how dare you have any sort of thought outside of groupthink? Like, how dare you think for yourself, Blake?
I know. Yeah, it's fucked up. I mean, that's I am objectively a bad person, but it's fine. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if we need to like get into questions to get into that, but I genuinely feel like we are going down a very dark, dangerous path with this season, and it's gross to me because.
Well, there's one big thing I want to talk about before we talk about the end, because I want to get your thoughts, because I personally think you're going to be a fantastic juror to have on this season for our final two, and I want to get your thoughts on that. The thing I want to talk to you about before that, just as like a fun aside, is I want to talk about you and Davy's fight. I've been on record saying this is a top 5 moment of BBH 11 for me. I was literally cackling the entire time. I forgot to ask him about it during his exit interview, so I apologize to him about that. But I want to get your take on it because it was just so incredibly hilarious.
So at my core, I come into games to win, but more importantly, I've viewed and hosted so many games and I've watched so many TV shows that at my core, I want the game to be fun. So if we're sitting here and there's no drama, even if it's look at me just resting this like stand of my microphone on my gigantic fat stomach. What was I saying? Oh, so at my core, if I can't not cause drama. I don't have it in me. I do not have the capabilities as a human being to not fight with a person at some point in a game. It's happened in every single game I've ever played, unless I'm like third boot and I don't have time.
You mean when you thinking about when we fought?
No, more so.
Well, you had other fights.
I only had 2. I fought Hannah at Final 5 Tribal because she tried to take me out after repeatedly telling me she would never take me out. So that was upsetting. And then we didn't really fight, honestly. Like, you were beat red when we called, but you were not fighting. And honestly,
I guess that not to rehash this boring thing for people who don't care, but I did flip you off when the camera went off. That was what I remember about that. That was
Well,
my side of the fight.
well, and so if this gives more of a side to like my need for drama and conflict, I knew that the call with you wasn't going to go well, but I wanted to do it immediately because I knew it would be funny. Like I knew how mad you were at me would be funny to me as a concept because I live for the drama. So when Mark went in the main chat and said he went back and forth on whether he was going to evict me 6 times, I wanted to flambe his ass, but I know that Mark does not like. I like Mark a lot on a personal level. I really, really genuinely do. I think he's a fundamentally good person. Like, Mark's the kind of person who, if he saw a spider on his wall, he would like get it in a little glass cup and let it out because he didn't want to kill it. Now, with that being said, Mark is a very paranoid player, and I think that he is not, what's the word I'm looking for? He doesn't take things very well. So I wanted to fire him up, but I am genuinely trying to work on personal growth. So I was like, I'm not going to fight Mark because I know he's not going to be able to handle it.
Right.
I thought that Davey and Chris, that I thought that they, I thought Davey for sure because I know Davey, like, he's funny. I thought Davey would be able to, like, jokingly fight back or actually fight back.
He's an org person, like,
yeah. So I was like, okay, this will go well. And also, like, I was tame in what I said. I did tag them in the house chat for evicting me, but I didn't think it was a secret. Like, I was like, this is not, like, everyone knows. Things were out in the open for that vote. Davey came back at me very angry, and I thought we were still joking. So I'm sitting here like on my couch, like, oh, Christmas card. And then suddenly, like, I think it crossed the line from like, oh, Davey's pissed. And I don't understand why. Because number one, I won't be sending Christmas cards. There's a 0% chance. That was always my least favorite part of the year when I would have to take Christmas card pictures with my family. Number two, Davey's not going to receive one regardless. Because I don't know if Davey will ever talk to me again after this game. So I don't know if it was the whole, like, I don't think it was the Christmas card part. I like to imagine that he was just steaming over the idea that he was not going to receive like a beautiful envelope that I rubbed my tongue all over and a Christmas card that I got made at Walgreens. But like, I think what it really comes down to is he was mad that I exposed him for being on the bottom, which everybody already knew, but yeah, and I guess maybe I also like to think that's why Crispy blocked me. I don't think it is, but I like to think that that's why Crispy blocked me on Twitter because he knows he's not receiving a Christmas card, so that bridge is burned and it's over. I will say he did unblock me.
There you go.
That is one more thing I want to talk about because I sent videos to I recorded like 3 videos the other day and I never sent them to the prod chat. This was after my goodbye messages and my like jury chat fight with Davey. I mean, not Davey, Chris. How do I say this? Chris is very bad. And when I say that, I mean, I've never felt more like someone was making a completely nonsensical argument to me as to why they were mad at me than, hey, you used my pre-existing connection to campaign for yourself to stay, even though I wasn't Chris wasn't the one on the blog. It got Chandler evicted, which like a net loss of 0. No offense, Chandler, your social game just wasn't good, but neither was mine. And also, like, when he's like, you're taking things from outside of the game into the game, it's like, yeah, no shit, because we don't get into the game and the outside of pre-existing connections and who knows who, that doesn't just turn off. I wish it did. And that's what goes back to like why I played this game, because I wanted to not know people, but I came in and I did. So I had to play the game the way that it needs to be played. So that made no sense to me. I feel like he was very, like, I think people make a personality of saying, I'm an asshole. And like, I don't think that's a personality trait. Like, I think just saying that you're a salty asshole is not a personality trait. And you need to do better. That's the last that I'll say on it.
All right. Well, there's your drama for the day. Let's transition. Because like I said, you've had some amazingly analytical thoughts already concerning how the game is progressing, and as we look towards the end of the game, what are some things you um, are looking for in a winner candidate, and how are you looking for this at the end of this game to kind of shape up over the next 4 days now?
So at this point, I don't see a world where I don't vote for Dan or Justin. The reason I say that is because I think Dan has played a flawless game. Obviously, there may have been little hiccups and goofs along the way that we may not have seen on the forefront, but Dan has played unbelievably well. He utilized his pre existing connections correctly. He made connections with new people. He took shots when they needed to be taken. He used Lee as a shield better than I did. He
Mm-hmm.
has all these people completely mind fucked to the point where like they are not taking the shot at him right now when they should be. Justin has played well also, but Justin's goodbye messages are so honestly like I have never felt physically nauseated by a video, but like watching somebody use not one, not two, but three videos to pump up why their game is so good in my goodbye message. Like, do you not realize, Justin, that I am a narcissist? And the best way for you to get my vote would have just been to tell me how cool I am and how great I am and how beautiful my voice is. Like, you could have done so much better if you, and I'm going to say this again because I sent it to the jury chat. If Justin's game deserved to be explained, he will make it to the final two and he will explain the game there.
Mm-hmm.
That makes me so much less likely to vote for you because it's like you're being very underhanded and you're saying it in a place where the person sitting in final two with you won't have a chance to defend themselves. And I think that that's a slimy way to do it. You don't need to make your best points when they can't be disputed because that's not a debate. That's just you filibustering me. And hopefully I see if it's like a Dan Justin or a Justin whoever final two. I hope that I see him rehash these same points, even though it'll just be exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just not what it's for. I didn't send a single goodbye message, and I should have probably, but my goodbye messages probably just would have been about the person. And if I make it to the final two, you will hear about my game there because
Mm-hmm.
that is what the final two is for. We wouldn't have a jury Q&A if we didn't like. That's the purpose.
Right.
Um, Genuinely shocked that nobody is taking the shot. Obviously, like Final Five nominations got posted today, and Gwen nominated Anthony and Mark. That is genuinely pathetic to me. The fact that you're in. So Gwen is not a bad player. Gwen, I know, has consistently played like 8 orgs at a time for the past year or so. So she knows what she's doing, and she always does well. What I don't understand is like this is the time where you do something, anything. Put up Dan and Justin, and if one of them wins the veto, put up Mark or Anthony. Have the other of Mark or Anthony evict the person that stayed on the block, and you break the tie. It's really
Mm-hmm.
not hard. This is the time where you take the shot. And the thing that I hate is that these people, I don't know if they genuinely think they're going to sit in the end and have anything to show for their games. Gwen has been involved in a power trio, but she is grossly overshadowed. If this was a final three scenario, Gwen would, I think, get 0 votes. Anthony, you would, I don't know a circumstance where I might vote Mark over Anthony, if I'm going to be completely honest, because at least Mark owns his game and sometimes uses the GOAT thing as a strategy, even if it's not a conscious choice. Anthony, I think, genuinely believes he's playing a good game. And I don't know how he can believe that when his final nominees on his only HOH were Mark and Macy, the two people who have been easy targets since day 3. So I think it's just disrespectful to the game that people aren't actually taking shots and people are pissing away their chance to win this game. I told Dan that if he vetoed me and got rid of Justin, he had a cakewalk to the end of the game. And I still truly believe that, especially with how things are going, because I think if we get to a final 3 of Mark, Gwen, Dan, Gwen, Justin,
Mm-hmm.
Justin, if he wins HOH, is cutting Dan. I think it's the same either way, but I think Dan could have made things a lot easier for himself because I think I would have had loyalty to him. I don't know about Macy. I don't know where the fuck her head was at ever. But yeah, I don't know. I think it just sucks that this is the end game that we're getting for a season that was so
Mm-hmm.
solid at the start and so much drama and like fun. And then it's kind of just slowed down. It's almost like they did the opposite of what I thought was the BB strategy, which is everyone played really hard in the pre-jury, and now everyone's playing possum in the jury stage, when you're supposed to be making a case for yourself. So
Mhm.
it's just gross to see, honestly.
Are you rooting for anyone in particular?
No,
No. Okay.
I don't. I dislike them all. Um, I dislike them all now. Once the game is over, I will start liking them all again.
Sure.
Will I start liking them all again? So I will say I will get to a point where, like, if I saw them on the street, I wouldn't immediately cross the street. But right now, I'm running. I'm
Yeah,
sprinting
yeah, yeah.
across oncoming traffic, playing Frogger to get to the other side. Um, Dan, I like. Justin, I will probably never talk to again, but it's fine. Gwen, whatever. Anthony and I have never met a person that I have less in common with. I just want to say, Abby is the truly the only human that matters to me, and I cannot stress that enough. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I wish the cast was less connected, and that's no
I was gonna
fault to. Go ahead.
I was gonna ask you like, well, I actually have a couple questions about that. Like, with the cast having so many sequester connections, like, do you think ultimately that was a positive or negative for the game or the
Um,
season?
I think any game where you have a giant group that has one thing in common with each other, because at least in the org community, obviously everyone that's playing has orgs in common, but usually in orgs there's not a lot of like, it's not like seven people from the same thing.
Yeah.
um I'm not going to hate on the cast by any means, because I think the cast on paper, if it was a completely like nobody knew each other and it was just these personalities, this cast would have been amazing. These are
Mhm.
all really, for the most part, with the exception of a couple, it's the whole cast top to bottom was really fun people who added a lot of value and entertainment to the season. I would be lying if I said that I didn't benefit from the sequester thing, because even though I was very like outskirts of sequester, it was
Mhm.
something that I still had to leverage my way in, because I was able to say, "Hey, I've played a few times," and then also able to tell. My lighting just got weird. I was also able to tell the non-sequester people, like, "Hey, like, I've played, but I'm not super ingrained in the community." So it was
Mhm.
helpful for me, but I don't like that it shaped people's perceptions of who they wanted to align with, because I think that I mean, you're playing the game before the game, and that sucks. Um, I also understand that, like, there are limitations to casting, and you can't cut every single sequester person just because they have too many connections if they are good personalities. So I'm not bitter or pressed, because I got eight. Like, 8 out of 18, I'm happy with. So
Yeah.
it's whatever. But, like, I think in the future of BBH, I hope that the word gets spread more and more, and I hope there is a more diverse, widespread casting pool, so we can get a
I
few sequester people and then a bunch of not sequester people.
I agree.
That would
Um,
be good.
yeah, no, I agree 100%. Okay, one final question. Um, well, I guess two. Abby said she may have missed it, but your winner pick at the moment.
So are we talking? Well, actually, I guess I would ask this question and then it would take too long for like Abby to reply in the chat. And then, yeah. So I was going to ask, like, if she wants to know who I think is going to win or who I want to win.
Just tell us both.
It's I want Dan to win, and I think he will, but it could be Justin that wins.
Okay.
Other than that, the only way that I'm voting for any of the other three is if they're next to each other, and Mark or Anthony's probably leaving today, so it's a very low shot that that's going to happen. So
Gotcha. Okay. So one final question, and it actually comes from your old pal Lee. And
King.
I'm gonna read you his question, and then I'm gonna ask you kind of like a flip side question. He said, "Who from the season would you not like to see in a future game that you play?" And then my like tangentially related question is, which of these people who played a first time game do you think could do well in another org appearance?
Person I wouldn't like to see. Obviously, I already delved into the crispy thing. So I don't think I would want to see him, mostly just because I know how he takes these games. And I know obviously that he has beef with me now, but that's unrelated. Like I know that he doesn't take these games well. So
Mhm.
for his own mental health, and that's not a drag. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I will be serious and say that like these games are not for everybody. They do take a very serious toll on your mental health if you let them. And not that's not
Mhm.
to say like if you let them, but I'm just fucked up in the brain anyway for the most part. So like that's why I've been able to play these for so long and I'm still okay. Um who else would I not want to see in a future game? I wouldn't want to see Anthony in a future game only because I don't like the way he plays because he's too vague like for myself personally. I don't
Mhm.
know like he would probably be good in another game but like I just wouldn't want to see him. And then who else in the pre-jury? The pre-jury was all very meh to me. Like not to say they were bad, but like I just really wouldn't want to see them. People that I would want to see. I mean, I would like to see Lee play a future game. He already knows that, I think, because Lee has an understanding of strategy better than most people,
Mhm.
and he also loves the drama, which I respect. This may be a controversial one. I would like to see Will in another game. I know this wasn't his first time, but Will, if he had the time to invest, is very smart and he's very funny. He is a good personality, but I just don't think he was well received here because A, by prod, because I know he didn't play that veto, and B, by the cast because he just wasn't active.
We had
Uh,
very high hopes for Will
he
preseason,
he
like
was
from his interview.
every time I talked to Will, I liked him, but the issue was every time I talked to Will was like every 4 days.
Mhm.
So that was a problem. I didn't talk to this person much, but Jacob had potential. I think
I agree. I agree.
he just had a bad start, and I think he never recovered. And then the last one, well, no, I have a couple more. I'm just going pre jury. This one may shock you. Ashley.
Yeah.
Now, I know that again, this is another person who's like orgs are not good for her mental health. But if she comes out of it and has perspective on like the time and effort she put in and the paranoia it caused her, she would be really good in another game because
Mhm.
she's a smart person. That's not
Yes.
the issue. She picked up on Lee being conniving and schemy. Obviously, like she had a reason to call Lee out, but like
Right.
she is smart and she does have potential. And then if we want to talk jury, if K-Pow stops taking things so personal, she's an amazing human, so she's an amazing player. Um, and I've never felt more okay with someone manipulating me than Dan. So
Mhm.
that's he.
All
I
right.
think that would transfer. So I know there's a lot of people, but like
That's fine.
I
Yeah,
have,
I think there's a lot of potential on this cast for people to go
yeah,
forth into the horror community and do really well. So
Paranoia 3 maybe.
maybe or Legacy
I'll
season 5.
I'll be there for Paranoia 3.
I would love to see that.
I'll be playing. Psych. Just kidding. No, I probably will.
All
But
right. Well, Blake, I gotta run,
I do
but
too.
thank you so much for spending some time with us. We had a blast watching you play this season. It was really, really fun. Thank you for giving what you did.
I'll see you for BBH All Stars too, baby. And
Yes, sir. I'll see you
I'm
there.
sure Abby will be there because she has a lifetime contract. So
That's right.
bye.
Bye, everybody.